Nope is directed by Jordan Peele and stars Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, and among others. And in this story, it deals with two siblings that are essentially having to survive from this unidentified entity that comes down where they're at their ranch that they're staying at, and it ends up becoming a tale of survival while also dealing with some tragedy that happens as the movie goes along with its themes. And I'll leave it at there because there's some other stuff that I can't really get into detail with. Now here's a little backstory. Now this movie was directed by Jordan Peele, and you know what? I've actually come to enjoy some of his comedy stuff in the past, especially when he was working with Keegan-Michael Kay. And I think that the guy does have a lot of talent in comedy. And his first movie that he directed years ago, which was Get Out, I actually did like the movie, but I did feel like it was very overhyped after watching it because it really seemed like it was. I found it a little too overrated, despite liking it. And I really appreciate what he in his directorial debut, what he was able to do with blending in horror and also with his social commentary on how he looked at stuff. And then I got me really excited when his next movie that came out, Us, came out, and I actually really enjoyed Us. I probably would have put it on my top 10 best movies of the year that year, but that movie was so full in 2019 that it probably would have made probably my honorable mention at least. But I remember really enjoying that one over Get Out. And I can see that the guy has a lot of talent. Coming into this movie, it got me interested because I really seemed like he was trying to be basically on his game with trying to do something a little different than his usual take, where he was kind of blending in some more sci-fi elements instead of doing a traditional horror film. And after upon seeing the film, I can say that I really did enjoy this movie a lot. And I don't know where I'd probably rank it as far as like more like either less or better than Us, but I can say that I really did enjoy it quite a bit. And there's some issues that I do have with it here and there, but I can still at least really got into it for the most part. I wouldn't really overhype him as one of the greatest like nowadays because I think that's just kind of overhyping it. But I will say that he's definitely it seems like the more movies that he's directing, it seems like he's really finding his foot in the game with being a horror director. Now, to get my pros out of the way, I really enjoyed the cast in this. I thought Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer were excellent. Daniel Kaluuya, I've actually really admired a lot as an actor, and I really enjoyed him. I did like him in Get Out. I didn't really necessarily think that his performance really carried much of a best actor necessarily type of performance, but I still thought he was really fantastic in that movie. And with this one, I thought he was really good with being able to play the very more stoic and kind of more reserve kind of role, while you have Keke Palmer who's playing the more energetic kind of like free loving or free balling and everything kind of one that carries a lot more of the comedy aspect. And I thought that there were quite a bit of points where her comedy does really work and it really blended well, and her banter with him was also really excellent as well. And I really did enjoy the dynamic with the brother or sister aspect, and that really. I did find it really evolving really well in the third act when shit really hits the fan. And I thought her performance was really captured when it gets, especially toward the end of it. Now, to get my other pros, I really got to enjoy the rest of the cast that come into this. One of the other ones I got to appreciate is Michael Wincott. I actually do find that guy to be a very underrated actor, and I'm glad to see that he's been in more movies lately, because he did play in one of my all-time favorite movies from the 90s, where he played Top Dollar in The Crow. And so it's good to see him back in a movie like this. And I like the other guy that was in the movie, the guy that plays Angel. I forgot the actor's name. I thought he was good. And one of the other things, and Stephen Yeun, or I think that's how you pronounce it, Stephen Yeun, I thought he was great too. And I think that he had the most interesting story in the film, where, not going to go into too much detail, but there's a subplot that involves his character that I not only was interested in where it was going, but also the themes that it plays out with the rest of the story I thought was really, really blended well. And there's some stuff that's involved about his character that really had me on the edge of my seat when it gets to some stuff here later in the movie when stuff goes down. I can't reveal anything, but let's just say, man, it had me on the freaking edge. And so I really enjoyed his character a lot, and I got to really appreciate the way the movie was shot, because apparently, I don't know if this movie was shot with, I think it was actually filmed with IMAX cameras. The scope and the way that Peele was able to blend on a more bigger scale on this approach, it really showcased a lot of the sequences where it's taking place in the ranch, and a lot of the parts where the entity is chasing everything and all that. I thought it really captured a lot of the scenes, especially at nighttime. And this is definitely one of the most beautifully shot films I've seen that take place at night. And that's one of the other things I really appreciate with Peele as a director, is that he really knows how to knows where to shoot the camera and things like that, and makes it competently made. And I also got to really appreciate the way the movie builds tension with it, because I'll get to a little bit of my minor cons later, but I will say that the way that it builds up and actually follows suspense, I thought it was really timed well. The scares, when they worked, they really do work a lot of times, and they really do pay off, especially when you get into some stuff that comes unexpectedly, that I really found myself really enjoying and had me on the edge of my seat with. And just, the way that the movie also blends in some of its soundtrack is very interesting too, where, I'm not going to go spoil the scene, but there is a part that they use like a slowed down version of I Wear My Sunglasses at Night by Corey Hart, and I thought that was not only one of the best scenes of the film, but just the way that the auto mixing is, it becomes pretty much a trend where if you know you're watching a Jordan Peele movie, you can tell that there's a lot of old songs that he takes and remixes them to sound a lot more horrifying. And I really got a kick out of that. And then one of the other things like I appreciate is the way the story was having it to where you have the sister brother aspect that involves with the where the movie was leading to. I really was getting into a lot of how it was placed itself, because I can't really go into detail, but let's just say that there's a tragedy that's involved that actually did find myself really interested with these characters and really found myself very, interested in how they were trying to do with it, because it's very hard to do with nowadays with a lot of movies, horror films in general, where if you don't have at least likable characters or characters that you're very invested in, it takes away a lot of the momentum to where you just don't really care too much, and you're just waiting for shit to go down and just kill your leads off. And so with this one, and it's good to see some horror movies like this that come back and actually bring you with that kind of approach, and I really do appreciate that, because it seemed like all the characters in the film, like, they really did feel like they could have all had like their own movie necessarily, because any of them, they all really worked in this very good ensemble piece in this. And I did also like the way that the movie did have some ambition, where you're not really too sure about some of the stuff that takes place, of why some of the events are happening, and I did like the mystery aspect of it. Could have been more explained, yeah, and that's one of my just little things I'll get to here a little on, that wasn't really, that I did have some issues with, but I really do like the way the movie was keeping things at a mystery to where it was able to at least give you enough of what's happening with where the movie was essentially going. If I have like any really minor cons, I'll say that I did feel like the movie did kind of have a slower pace at the beginning that wasn't necessarily boring, but it's just that it felt very slow for at least in the first half, to where I wasn't necessarily bored, but I could see where it took a while to really build up, and they weren't really doing a whole lot of like development, so to speak, that was trying to push things a little forward with the characters. Because it did seem like some of the parts in the beginning of it, just a little bit, was feeling like it was padded out, to where nothing, well, not necessarily nothing, it's not that nothing was happening, it's just that it seemed like it was just plodding along before you get to like the main stuff that's happening with the movie. So I did kind of have that issue, and then I also felt like, while there is some interesting stuff that they do with some of the other characters, it would have been interesting had we, taken time to explore a little bit more about some other stuff that's going on with like how they bring the documentary filmmaker that's trying to do all this and trying to capture basically the stuff on camera with Michael Winscott's character. I thought there could have been a whole lot more time to really spend more things to really build up to it on that aspect. And then one of the other things I would say too is that while the movie does have some really good stuff in the climax that happened, it did feel like it was a little bit kind of fast the way it played it out, because it seemed like there was some stuff they do in the climax where things seem kind of convenient more than usual. And now, they don't do it a whole lot, but when it does happen, it does seem like that things can essentially get resolved really quickly, then things can get resolved a lot more easier than expected. And I think that was one of the things I found myself really wondering if they could really do a whole lot more with, and give it more of a bigger deal in the climax. And so that was one of my other. Those are just some of my little minor cons I have. But other than that, I really do enjoy this movie a lot. So with that, I'm going to give the movie a low phenomenal grade on the Film Freaks meter. So, for those of you who have also seen Nope and also the other films that Jordan Peele has directed as well, let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next review. I'll see you later.